Hi, this is Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming here with another great podcast. You guys are a wonderful audience. Thanks for always tuning into our audience and seeing the show or listening to the show if you're on the iTunes or the Google Play, where you can also subscribe to the podcast as well. Be sure to watch for us on youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification button so you can get all the notifications whenever we have a new wonderful guest on. And also go to patreon.com/Chris Voss to support the show over there and get some of the private Facebook groups we have for the show. I've got a wonderful guest here today. His name is Justin Schenck. He has been named the top 8 podcaster to watch in 2018 by Inc. magazine and chosen as an icon of influence in the new media space. What started as a way to connect with top people and inspire others has become a way of life for him. Now he gets played in over 100 countries every single week. I think I'm up to 2. And he is able to make a greater impact than he could ever imagine. He not only speaks to organizations on how to overcome adversity and utilize podcasting to grow your business, but he helps others launch their own podcasts with his website, beginpodcastingnow.com. Welcome to the show, Justin. How you doing, bud?
Chris, I'm doing great, man. I'm excited for this conversation. It seems like it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're broadcasting live to the YouTube verse or wherever else, and some stuff could go down. We'll have to see.
We might have to eat some Tide Pods, though. I don't know if I mentioned that in the thing. You know, we've got to keep that YouTube Tide Pod audience captured.
Well, they've taken away the color, so they're not as tempting anymore. So I don't think I'm going to eat them. It's not my thing anymore.
I eat them mostly for the taste. I didn't really like it for the color. You get that with a nice Chianti and some fava beans, and goes down with a nice liver. Which is probably what your liver will probably be outside of you if you eat one of those. So let's start off talking about your podcast. You got a really cool podcast that you got going on there. The Growth Now movement. What's that about? What do you do there?
Yeah, man. So I interview people with inspiring stories of growth, whether that's personal or professional. And, you know, it started out as a way for me to connect with some really neat people, have some good conversation. Hopefully 1 or 2 people listen, and maybe it changes their life a little bit, makes them think a little bit differently, makes them kind of change their life and their direction. And really for a long time, that's what it was, 1 or 2 people listening. And I think a lot of people in the podcast space can kind of relate to that. You know, over time, the audience began to grow, and there was a huge shift. So I used to have a co-host on the show named Zach, still one of my best friends. I asked him to take a step back because I realized that the branding and the messaging wasn't matching everything that we were saying, because it was really my branding, my idea, my direction, and then there was this other guy who'd chime in every once in a while. And when I made that shift and I asked him to take a step back, everything started to blow up, and Inc.com came knocking. And from there, it's been kind of crazy. Now 2018 is full of speaking opportunities and bigger and bigger guests week after week. And some of them I'm doing some business stuff with. And, you know, it's just like my bio said, it's really become a way of life for me. As something that started out as a hobby, this might be kind of cool. And now all of a sudden it's paying the bills, and it's giving me a lot of opportunity.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So you just, wow, I should get a co-host and then dump them, and maybe I'll do better for my podcast.
The key is dumping the co-host. No.
I actually had a wonderful co-host back in the day, and she got really busy with what she was doing, and I couldn't have her on anymore. I think she was working for the New York, Jersey governor, Chris Christie.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you liked him or not. I'm not going to assume what her thing was, but she was my co-host for a long time, and people did love her. And now they're stuck with me. So there's that. So then you've got a website too, where you help people, become podcasters, master podcasting, et cetera, I guess.
Yeah, and that was also something that happened very organically. You know, many years ago, I'd say 2008, 2009, so probably 9, 10 years ago, I had a business called Jutbug. That's another conversation. But we put together seminars and expos that focused on personal and professional growth. And we would and we did really well. We were growing over the first 2 years, and we decided to take every dime that we made and put it into one giant expo. We paid a speaker a lot of money to come speak. We blew out advertising. We're like, this is going to be huge. We're going to double the money, et cetera, et cetera. And we ended up selling 3 tickets to the event. And so needless to say, we canceled that event. It didn't happen, and we lost every dime that we made. And at that point, I was still working a full-time job. That was still kind of like a side hustle, just trying to make it happen. So we took a step back from that, and I went back to my day job and worked my way up through the corporate world. And I was in medical sales and medical management, and it was doing really well. But there was something missing. And that was just the idea that I wanted to help people reach their goals. And I wanted to help people overcome adversity that they've experienced in life, because I experienced a lot of it myself. And having mentors and reading books and listening to podcasts are part of that journey of me overcoming. And I was like, well, how do I become part of this space? And, podcasting started to take off. And just about 2 years ago, I launched the podcast. And as that grew, I still had this day job and I was doing the podcast. More and more people were coming to me saying, how are you doing this? How do you get into this space? How do you grow your audience? Okay. And I was like, well, I can help you. And I started helping people for free. And I was like, well, I don't have time to help you for free anymore. And it became consulting and coaching. And then from there, it became podcast production. And now that's what I do full time. So it's really that organic idea of like, I didn't want to be known as the podcast guy. I shied away from it for a little bit and kind of kept it on the back burner. Like, yes, I'm the podcast host, but I'm not the podcast production guy. And then life just forced it out of me. And so now it's become this great thing. And like I said, people pay me to speak on their stages, and it's something I never thought would happen. But I think that sometimes in life, when you embrace the things that life is shoving down your throat, and you really kind of run with it, there's a lot of opportunity there to make money or reach your goals or live the life that you want to live.
Yeah, I had the same experience when I was a male stripper. Life just kind of went, you're not doing that anymore. So I had to quit a month ago.
That's fair. Throughout your back, or?
Yeah. And I took a look at your guys' website. You got a lot of wonderful services on there, some different packages people can get. You guys do the annoying part of it, like the edit stuff and the uploading and different things that people, the tedium that sometimes people get, annoyed, or they lose interest in podcasting because of the tedium.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. And that's exactly the thing. So 73% of podcasts don't make it past their first 7 episodes. Wow. And that is that people don't realize the amount of work that goes into it. They think they're going to launch and their numbers are just going to blow up. So I've made it my own personal mission, whether it's speaking or doing it with my production or my coaching, is to make sure these numbers get less and less, right? So we don't want the space to be crowded by all, 300,000 people that say they're podcasters when it's not something they're completely dedicated to and something that they're willing to do for more than 7 episodes. And I do that by taking that tedium away, like you said, and then also opening people's eyes to podcasting more than just having a huge audience, right? So I've been fortunate enough that my audience has grown, but that doesn't happen for everybody. But it doesn't mean you can't make that part of your platform, part of your brand, or part of your business. You just have to be creative and look at it from different angles.
Yeah, it's an interesting business. For a while there, I did it early on, and then I was getting frustrated with its distribution. And it kind of seemed like podcasts kind of died there for a while. And then like the mobile phones, once they got to a certain point, I guess 4G, it just all came raging back and people just really started consuming them on their mobile phones. But it's interesting how popular they are and people love listening to them. I mean, even my YouTube videos, people tell me, they don't watch my YouTube videos. They listen to my YouTube videos, which I can't blame them.
but you're absolutely right. So like podcasting has come surging back, and part of that is because of the bigger names that are getting into it and stuff like that. But if you look at the amount of people that are listening, I think it was in 2016, something like 18% of Americans listened on a regular basis. 2017, something like 24% listened on a regular basis. And so that is growing exponentially because as Americans, mostly, because that's the majority of the listeners of podcasts at this point. But Americans mostly, it's because we're on the go all the time. We have 10,000 things to do. And these things like Netflix are coming out where when the show releases, you can binge watch the whole thing in one day and then go about your day. So you don't have to wait on every Monday night, sit down, watch this show for an hour, 2 hours, whatever the case may be. Where podcasts, you could be cleaning, you can be working out, you could be driving, you could be cooking dinner, you could be doing the dishes, whatever the case may be. You're absorbing content while you're doing all these other things and getting other things done.
My wife insists on listening to podcasts while we're having sex.
So she could be, when this replays, she could be listening to my voice.
She doesn't listen to my podcast. I'm not married either. It's made for a joke.
It was a good joke.
I can see some married couple in that. She's like, I'm listening to my podcast. I'm trying to have sex with you. I'm listening to my podcast. I'm trying to have sex with you.
I guarantee you that happens. I'm going to figure this out. That's going to be part of my pitch to get new clients. Like, listen, people will be listening to you while having sex.
Make the podcast you listen to during sex.
Oh, yeah.
50 Shades of Podcast. He's probably already got that stupid thing. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about how you've been through an entrepreneurial journey. Let's talk about some of that background and hear some of those stories.
Yeah. I think that I've always liked the idea of the freedom of being an entrepreneur. So the funny thing is I'm not driven by money. Like I don't have this great like grand vision of having a Ferrari and a mansion and 9 dogs that I don't even watch because I can pay somebody else to watch them, and kids that I have that because I pay somebody else to watch them. It doesn't matter. I don't. That's not my vision. My vision is to really impact the world as best I can. Is money part of that? Sure, because the more money you have, the more impact you can make.
I was going to say you can send your money to me. I'll take good care of it.
You got it. So lots of dogs and lots of children that other people watch on my dime.
Mostly nice cars. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And so, you know, I got into the entrepreneurial space because I like the freedom. I don't like when somebody else tells me what to do. I like the idea of building my own kind of thing and leaving a legacy behind, whatever that looks like. And so I've tried and failed. And I mean, you know, one part I never tell of my story is I actually tried to launch a phone app at one point. And I spent a lot of money on that too. And a lot of time, you know, with branding, and then, you know, a programmer who was kind of sucky. And so like, it was just one of those things. I was like, this is the best idea ever. And I'll put it out there, by the way. So if somebody wants to run with it, it was called Spark with 2 Ks. And it was to be push to college campuses. And it was like a short radius messenger / dating app, but non-dating. So like guys can talk to guys, girls can talk to girls. And it's to connect as freshmen, or to connect for those people that were like home during the holiday, or still at college during the holidays, and everybody else is gone and all their friends were gone.
I think Zuckerberg beat you to that.
Well, with Facebook, yeah, but this is just easier. So it was a phenomenal idea. It just never got off the ground, and I spent a lot of money, and I'm like, I can't keep spending money. But it's really about creating a legacy for myself, I think. And I think as an entrepreneur, it's a great way to do it. And if you look at like the Gary V's of the world, I don't want to be Gary V, but you look at the Gary V's of the world, who's really leaving behind this legacy, you know, creating entrepreneurs as rock stars. It's intriguing, right? And I think that more and more people are jumping on it. I think that being an entrepreneur can be something that can be learned, but everybody thinks they can be an entrepreneur, and that's not necessarily true. And I've doubted myself many times in my life.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I've had people that I've had to take aside and go, look, you're not built to be an entrepreneur up in the brain. You need to just stick to your 9-to-5 job. I do believe a lot of it can learn, but there's some people that their brain work is so rudimentary, and they have to work within the box, and they can't get out of the box. They can't think outside the box, and they're just locked into the patterns that they have. And I've counseled them and said, you're not going to make a good entrepreneur because you can't think outside the box. You can't think outside your paradigms, and you can't imagine a reality. Like I remember one time I had someone who was borrowing money from our mortgage company, a loan for their home, and the guy was a real hardcore math teacher, and he was one of those really nerdy math teachers. And I just said to him, I said, you're just not going to make it the way you are and the way your brain works. You can't adjust. If it doesn't for you, if it's not in the book and it's, fits this math sequence, you're not going to get it. And being a great entrepreneur is be able to think outside that box.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And I think there's a great lesson in like staying in your lane. Now, can that person somehow manipulate that and make that his own little entrepreneurial journey? Sure, but it'll probably look more like a corporate type of setting. But I think podcasting is the same way. I tell people all the time, you probably shouldn't be a podcaster. And that's the way they communicate. That's the way they pull information out of people. What types of questions are you asking? You know, do you spit when you talk? Those types of things that like this doesn't really translate to podcasting. And I tell people pretty often.
That's why I have the P cover on the blue mic there for the.
Yeah.
People are thinking P cover. Is Donald Trump on again?
Oh my God.
Russia? I don't know what that means. But no, it's quite the journey of being an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 18, and once you get hooked on the drug, it's a hard fucking drug to quit. And you know, it's I'm trying to think if there was another segue I had on something, but now it's lost to me. But yeah, it's a challenge. So where did you finally find success as an entrepreneur?
In podcasting.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's all full circle, right? So again, it happened organically. Like I tapped out on the entrepreneurial thing. Like for me, this was literally just something for me to connect, and it just happened organically. And here we are, right? And you know, it's been a lot of up and down and a lot of fun stuff. And like, you know, that there's like a map, and it says like, it's like a entrepreneurial map, and it says your plan. It's like a straight line. And then it says like what actually happens is like this up and down. And like, when you're on your downs, you're like, this, I suck. I'm the worst human being ever. There's no way in hell anybody would buy anything from me. And like, you sell like a $50 thing, like for the first time, you're like, yes, I'm the king of the world. I'm going to make a ton of money. And that's really what it is. And I think for me now, the biggest thing, it's not even necessarily the podcast. It's that I started to surround myself with other people that thought the same way and other podcasters who were killing the space, but then taking it and making it something greater. It's really hard to make money in podcasting, from from like a sponsorship standpoint, right? And I get people reaching out on a weekly basis and say, I want to sponsor your show. I feel like your audience resonates. The best thing is, I think it was last week or the week before, I got one from a life insurance company. I go, millennials listen to my show. Like, I don't think they're into life insurance at this point. It might not be your target audience, but people reach out and say, hey, we want to be a sponsor. And it's just kind of weird how that kind of happens, but that's a really hard place to get to. That's a really hard place to get to. Are
they expecting a lot of people to die on your show?
I guess it's those long episodes. Like, oh my God, is this ever going to end?
I normally kill on my show, so I don't never die. Except for today.
That's amazing.
Maybe we need some life insurance, you know, like maybe if your show's like really like, I don't know who would ever sponsor the Chris Voss Show. Probably a vodka group or something like that.
That'd be amazing. You should just reach out. One thing I did when I just started out, and I was like, how do I kind of utilize this? I started to reach out to companies that I was kind of into. And I was like, how do I get free stuff? And I've gotten like free clothes and free like signage and all these other free things. And like, it's just kind of a cool way to be like, hey, look, I have this platform that I can shout out. Can you just give me free stuff? And they give it to you. So try that with a vodka company. Whatever your favorite vodka is, just reach out and be like, hey, I've got this great podcast. A lot of boozers listen to it. So can you give me some free vodka? And I'll talk.
A lot of people have to get drunk to listen to the podcast. So we want to go there. What is he saying now? Yeah, I'll have to ask my sponsor about that. See if he'll let me have a vodka thing.
I don't see. It's just like a middle show plug. It'd be like you just talk about vodka in the middle of your show every single time, and just be like, my favorite vodka is I don't even drink vodka, so I don't know.
That's usually about the point that people are starting to drink when they're listening to the show. So they're like, it's halfway through this stupid show.
Actually, you know what? It's funny. iTunes just released analytics of like how long people are listening to your show. And I was so terrified that every play that I got was really like an accidental like play button. It was like 14 seconds. And so I'm hitting like 92% of my episodes getting listened to. I was like, holy crap.
It's still not around right for my show. It still serves the same numbers and only like certain shows have numbers, and they haven't changed in, I think it's been out for 2 or 3 months now. The beta.
it's a very small sampling size. So it's based off of people with certain kind of iPhone with like a certain kind of iOS system download or whatever. Yeah, so that's why it's so little compared to like your listens.
So like
but it gives you like a snippet.
Oh, that's crappy.
Yeah. I think it's the newer ones, but like it gives you a small snippet of like people are actually hanging around. Like I'm not kidding you when I was like, people are probably listening to 3 minutes of this show and getting off.
The other thing is too is there's one page of the reporting that says one numbers, and then there's another page and then some of them are zero. There's a whole lot of zeros. And then I go to another page and like there's numbers there and not zeros. And I'm like, which page is I guess it's in beta, so you have to go whatever.
iTunes it's all part of Skynet. I don't know if you know this. The more you log in to check. It's like Skynet.
Yeah, I mean, the application is so dead. I found Steve Jobs' body in one of the corners.
Oh my god!
Reports.
This is like a show I've never been on a show like this before. We mainly broadcast on iTunes, and we just dropped a Steve Jobs dead joke.
Yeah, I think we're both getting booted off now.
Oh god, not good.
I can't remember what's the CEO's name of Apple.
I don't know. Steve Cook.
I don't know. I forgot
Steve
either.
Cook? Is it Steve Cook? I think it's Steve
Cook. That sounds about right. Something Cook.
Yeah.
But yeah, wouldn't that be? It's Steve Jobs? Tim Cook. It's
Tim Cook. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I own Samsung, so I really don't care about the Apple product. I kind of like to stay current and not be 3 years behind everything. Ooh. But yeah,
I'm an Apple guy.
I'm really surprised it's taken Apple this long to get that reporting down. Like
I think they've always had the reporting. Like they know every single detail. They're just not sharing it.
It's just they don't want to share it. And
yeah, I imagine that's like their power. Like nobody really understands the iTunes rankings. Nobody really understands like where these downloads are coming from. Nobody really understands if they're listening on Spotify, if that plays into my iTunes listens. Nobody knows. We just pretend like we know.
Why iPhones when they're 3 years behind the Samsung Galaxies in technology. So, there's a lot of who knows what knows who.
Well, they got the iPhone X that can scan your face.
Oh.
Well, so that's ahead of the Samsung. Yeah.
When it's not bricked.
True.
But, what are you going to do? That was the biggest problem I had with podcasting was trying to measure listens and downloads and trying to figure all that stuff out. And I roamed around for a long time going, maybe I just don't have the right company that's not reporting to me right. What the listens are. I want to know listens. I'm very reporting based being a social media influencer because, it's like your Google Analytics. I want to know if this shit's actually working. It's actually listening.
Yeah.
And I remember back in the early days of starting YouTube and doing my blog, it seemed like the first year or two, I was like, no one's listening to this shit. No one is paying attention. I'm talking out my butt into the air. Kind of like being president right now. And not going to mention any orange names, but you see that
He's
thing
a little less orange. He's a little less orange now than he was.
You see that thing the other day where his bald head thing flapped?
I did not. It's funny because I don't really watch TV and I kind of stay away from the news. I live in my own. I feel like I live in my own little world. Like when I find time to do that stuff, like I just don't want to. Whatever we're doing as a country right now doesn't seem to be the greatest. Let's be honest. And so I try and stay away from it. And like if my world and the people in my world are happy, that's good enough for me. But some memes come out that are pretty funny. Like I think around Thanksgiving, there's a meme that came out, and I guess when they, how like they show the turkey to the president.
Yeah. Like
Trump was like, "Can I touch it?" And like the meme was like, "Oh, Trump has more respect for this turkey than women."
Yeah, there's usually always good memes no matter what the president around that turkey day because it's just comedy gold really most times.
It's really the cheesiest thing that we probably do as a.
It really is. I mean,
say we do as a country, but
and you're kind of like, why is the president an asshole? There's like millions of turkeys, and he just saves this one, and the rest of the turkeys are looking at him, going like, "Well, fuck you, man." What? Yep. What? How come he's so special? And then then he's like, "Off with your heads," and then we have dinner.
Hey.
So I don't know, like who picks that turkey? Like, how come that turkey's so special? I don't know.
That is something that I'm going to Google when we get off the call. That and because they have a special tree from a special state every year for Christmas, or the holiday season. It's a holiday tree now, I think. And then the turkey is. Now I do want to ask if that turkey actually gets saved, or if it just gets eaten on another day.
Yeah. Trump didn't put up a tree this year for Christmas. He just put up a burning cross. He got it from Alabama.
Oh my God. Whoa. Wow. Yeah.
There's good people on either side. Anyway,
I've never laughed so much as being on a podcast before. Like, this is ridiculous.
We're normally funny, but I'm a little tired today. But we're usually funnier. So, what's the key to getting good guests? You want to share some of that information, unless it's proprietary. What's the key to getting good guests like yourself on the show?
Yeah. So what people really want to do is they want to click the link in the bio and pay me thousands of dollars for that. No, I'm just kidding. So I've been really fortunate with the guests that I've had, and I honestly feel that is for a number of reasons, right? I had big names before my show ranked ever. And I think, number one, I'm very much real. I'm very much myself. And I think my mindset is, what can I help my guest with instead of what can this guest do for me? There's a lot of times where these podcasters are out there reaching out to big names. Can you be on my show? Can you be on my show? Share it out, do all these things. But my approach is always, what can I do for you? And I've become a really, really good active listener, and just really paying attention to what they're saying, why they're saying it. And I just dive in. My show is very unscripted, but it's a guided conversation. I've had multiple people cry on my show. My favorite thing to hear is people go, "Oh, I've never shared this before." Like my episode that releases tomorrow, there's a guy on my show. It's like the perfect teaser sound clip that I've been using, which is like, I've actually never used this before, so I've actually never said this before, so we can make this a groundbreaking moment on your podcast. And then he goes into something that's actually very serious. And I think being real and being vulnerable has allowed me to create a relationship with the person on the other side of the screen. And then they have then introduced me to people. So I had a guy named Paige Mungadimi on, who's a bigger name. He's written a couple books like Third Circle Theory and stuff like that, best-selling books. And one of the forwards to his last book was a guy named Fabio Viviani, who I had seen speak about a year and a half before I interviewed PJ. And I was like, since I saw Fabio speak, I was like, I need to get him on the show. He's amazing. He was on America's Top Chef, bigger guy, bigger name guy. And I saw that he wrote the forward to PJ's book. And I said, "Hey man, I saw that Fabio wrote the forward. Do you mind introducing me?" And he goes, "Yeah." He's like my best friend. I'll do whatever I tell him to. But if I wasn't real and I got into podcast voice and I didn't have a good conversation, he wouldn't have done that. And then Fabio went on to introduce me to 50 people. And I've had like Zane Lamprey on, from the host of 3 Sheets, that was on the Travel Channel, and Leslie Durso, she's like a celebrity vegan chef, and a number of other people. I've got a couple of reality stars coming on here, in a little bit. But it's really about being real, creating a relationship in the short amount of time that you have with these people, and then giving and giving and giving.
Yeah. One thing I've never, you kind of inspired me there. One thing I've never admitted on this show is that every episode I'm naked from the waist down. And I almost awkwardly said, "Prove it." So you just have to take my word for it. That, or let your imagination run, which might be more interesting.
I'm going to just trust you, and we're going to leave it at that. And try.
You want me to trust you? We're on YouTube Live. If I stand up, the judge and my parole agent are going to have a chat with me about children again. You're gonna be like that. You're gonna be like that guy who showed that dead body. What's that guy's name on YouTube? Loser. No, Lotus Young Smith.
Something.
Lucas Smith. Lucas Young.
Yeah. Luke something. I don't know, but what an idiot.
Is so screwed. He's screwed up like twice now.
Yeah, now
so
it's been a second time.
Now people are starting to use him as a reference point where they go, "Oh, you pulled one of those."
Yeah, that's not a good situation at all.
It's not going to look good on your Wikipedia page. That's all I'm saying.
That's so funny.
It's just, I don't know, whatever. What's the key to a good podcast? Because God knows the poor audience that listens to this one is like, give me a fucking break already.
No, again, it's going back to the same thing. I mean, it's just being yourself. Like, I really care about diving deeper. And that's what that's how I talk to my friends. That's how I talk to people that I meet, see at a bar. We'll start chatting and I'll get deep. And so for me, it's just diving in and getting the most out of them and getting that deep down story. For you, it's just having a good time, right? And chatting, and because that's your personality and that's what you're kind of putting across. But here's the thing. Your branding and your messaging has to match what you're putting out. Because if it doesn't, you're just lost, right? So like you as a host, and this is me critiquing you as what I would do as a coach, right? You as a host, you're very real. This is who I am. I crack jokes, inappropriate ones, and it's funny. And you're Chris Voss, and so therefore it's the Chris Voss Show. From
the waist down,
and
doesn't get any more real than that.
And covered in Vaseline, and
it's kind of vulnerable too.
That's good. That's how you're really reaching the audience. They're just waiting for the after show.
I do Patreon. That to connect with my vulnerability because I'm naked, and like if someone walks in, then that would be very vulnerable.
Let me ask you this: has anybody, when you're interviewing them, hung up on you?
No. But we're there's still time.
I think that should be your goal. Like, I feel as though this is like not that maybe this is just
to people and
it's like a shock jock. It's like a shock jock type of moment, right? I'm sure there's people that walked out on Howard Stern. I don't think he's ever mean to the people there. He's mean to other people that are not in the room. And he touches on.
I think the chicks walk out because he's just a pig sometimes. But I love Howard Stern, so
there you go. And so with me, like if I was a Trump supporter, I might have hung up on you.
That's probably true. Yeah.
So, but you're just yourself, and I think it'd be a good goal of yours to see if you can do that and really push those limits.
People, but when I kidnapped him, but put him in the basement and carved off their skin, I wouldn't fit. So I had trouble finding people who were my size.
Oh my God!
It puts the lotion on its skin, where it gets the hose again. So yeah, I had to stick with being me. Plus, I don't know. I don't have a joke for that. And that's the joke. It's so beautiful. So yeah, I'm working to be a good podcaster. People, if they want to be a better podcaster, they can go to your website, and of course, you probably coach people on podcasting, how to be a better podcaster, stuff like that.
Yeah. I have some coaching clients that I just coach one-on-one twice a month. And it's really about like, okay, we start out ground zero. Like, is your branding on point? Does it make sense? Should you go to more than one show a week? Should you go less? What do you that type of thing. And then I'll dive in and say, hey, I was listening to your episode and I realized here, the person said this and you went in a completely different direction. And so I'd coach them on just being a more active listener. I coach them on the idea of like, well, maybe your intro should be like this, or your show notes should be like this. And I really kind of coach them on really polishing everything the right way and kind of growing from that standpoint. I also have people come to me and say, hey, I kind of have this idea. What do I do? And so I actually have a client who came to me, and he's blind. Actually, he lives in Guatemala, and he's blind. And he goes, I want to start a podcast. And I don't really know what I'm doing. And so I'm literally coaching him concept to launch.
Guatemala make him blind?
Sorry. That's part of it. Part of it. And so when I actually coach him, there's a third person on the line who lives in Panama who's like taking notes and doing all the technical stuff, which is kind of crazy. And he came to me and he's like, I have this idea. I want to call it like medical marvels and talk about like overcoming medical stuff and blah, blah, blah. And you'll see here in the next couple of months a podcast coming out called The Blind Leading the Blind. And it's really about the medical stuff, but also inspirational stories and stuff like that. And so I know this is like the worst show for me to share this information on, because I know really all the jokes that are in your head. but podcasting's their avenue, if you really think about it. But I'm literally coaching him, and so he had an idea, and we're nurturing and massaging that idea, and we're making it better, and he'll launch, and it'll be successful. And I teach him how to launch properly and what helps when you launch to grow right away and all that fun stuff.
You gotta love it. Sometimes I do massaging and nurturing on my podcast, but usually it's when I'm naked from the waist down, covered in Vaseline. It's the Vaseline part that really makes it. Yeah, it's interesting to me. For a while I did a podcast. The way I did my podcast was it was pretty talking chat forum, blah, blah, blah. And then I kind of realized that I was dominating too much like I am now. And I'm like, you know what? People come on my podcast now and they go, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, well, we want to talk about you. You're the star of the show. We want to introduce you to our audience, have them get to know you. Because they already know me. They're sick of me. They were sick of me like 500 episodes. Like episode 3, they're just like, enough with this guy. They don't want to hear more about Chris Voss. They're like, fuck that guy. They're like, we want to hear about whoever's on the show, and we want to know who they are, because God knows we're gonna puke if we hear more about Chris Voss. So that's really more one adjustment I made to making the show hopefully better. It's a scale, and it's a sliding scale, and you're just laughing there in the back, Justin. This is fun. So it's a sliding scale. This edible's kicking in. It's a sliding scale. See, now you're setting me up, Justin.
Yeah, the best part is, like, I usually before I'm a guest on a show, I usually listen to their shows, but I didn't have time to do this today, and so I had no idea what I was walking into. I thought the host would be wearing pants, and if he wasn't wearing pants, I definitely didn't expect the Vaseline.
What do you got against people that don't wear pants? Are you a pantsist?
That would mean I don't like pants.
Are you a pantsist supremacist? That's
yes.
That's probably something people would flunk me out of school for. So yeah, so I started telling people, you come on the show, tell us your stories. One thing I have been pushing more for guests on the show is to bring great stories. Because for a while there, I had like people that would come on and be like, what do you do? I do this. Okay, that's great. Anything else? No. Okay, see ya. You're just like, did you just come on my podcast and read your job description and leave?
The resume. That's the resume.
And then the other thing I'm trying to get is better bios from people. Like, you gave me a great bio, but I've gotten some bios from folks, and they're wonderful. They mean well, but some of people's bios are really awful, and I didn't really realize that until I started podcasting again and asking people for bios. Like, some of them are really just goddamn awful. Like, they're just like, well, Bob's a really nice guy, and people like him, and you're just like, what kind of bio is that?
He spends his Sundays watching football with the kids.
Yeah, you're just like I don't know, who gives a shit about that? I don't.
Yeah.
Like, it's the third person talking about what a great person you are in the third person.
Yeah, and guess what? Mine's the third person, and I fucking wrote it. So like, that's real. Like, I wrote my own bio in the third person, and now I feel like a loser. Well, what did you learn from going on the Chris Voss Show? That I'm a loser.
But if you're using like empirical, spongy shit about, Chris smiles a lot. Just stuff that, and I think it's funniest when they talk about what a great person they are, and they say that, like, they don't describe that in a manner which is like, Chris donates to charities. They go, Chris is a very sunny person and people like him. So, you're just like, what the fuck kind of bio is that? Like, I don't know. It's a work in progress. That's
amazing.
But yeah, I'll get these like 2-page bios, and I'll just be like, no one's gonna read that shit. Number one,
yeah,
you might as well.
I thought the one I gave you was a little too long.
No, yours was great. Yours was great, but I'll get ones that are like 2 or 3 paragraphs, and I'm like, look, man, we're doing a bio, not a fucking life story, man.
Born in Summers Point, New Jersey, August 27th, 1984.
Oh yeah. It's
Lynn and Tom.
It goes on. It's like it's a bad bio. I'm like, if this is your life so far, you might want to go with a shorter bio.
Yeah, makes it more exhilarating. Right, it's like that's why comedies are 90 minutes long instead of over 2 hours, because if it was over 2 hours, it wouldn't be funny anymore. So like, just shorten it, make it more exciting, and kind of attack it from that standpoint.
That explains why The Godfather wasn't funny. I thought it was a great comedy. Luca Brasi. You know, if
it was a comedy until it hit the 91-minute mark.
Everyone should probably get high and go watch The Godfather and then think of it as a comedy. Like, I wonder if you could rewrite on Broadway the Godfather movie as a comedy.
They've probably tried. I'm sure they've tried.
$1 billion idea here. I mean, fuck, they had one of those shows that just had stupid cats in it. I mean, come on. That's a lot better than stupid cats in a show or people dressed up as cats. You know, I saw that show once. I still have no idea what the hell it was about or what went on.
Did you really?
Yeah. But I think I was
wasted your money.
I was with a girl or somebody I was dating, and I was more interested in what I was up to with that.
Yeah, that's fair. We've all been there, man. We've all done things for dating.
We've all been at the cat shows.
Well, not me, but yeah.
Also in Tijuana, but that's another story. So, yeah. So you love podcasting. Do you see a career for yourself in podcasting? Do you see yourself when you're 80 years old still running a mic?
That's a great question. I don't know, to be honest with you. If podcasting is where I need to be at that point, yeah. But I really do allow life to kind of present opportunities. And right now it's podcasting. And that's really kind of been a thing. And I think podcasting is now just getting started. And so I imagine there's another good 10, 15 years in it in some way, shape, or form, right? Whether that's hosting or just helping other people or whatever the case may be. My goal in life really is to let people realize that it doesn't matter where you come from. All that matters is the choices you're making today to move yourself forward. Hence the Growth Now movement. Hence, overcoming adversity as an ongoing theme of my show. I was, if there was a senior superlative in high school for least likely to succeed, that would be me. My junior year of high school had a 1.7 GPA. My mom had a 20-year pill addiction. My dad spent 2.5 years in jail. If you write the story how it was going to begin with, it would end really, really badly. But I decided to make the right choice every single time I had the opportunity to make a choice. And so if I can continue to make right choices and continue down the right path, I'll just continue to grow. I live with the motto of grow 1% every single day. And I'm only 5'8", so I'm not talking about my height. And so with that being said, I think that no matter where you are right now, like if you're watching this and you're like, holy shit, I'm a loser. I'm just drunk all the time and whatever, and I'm smoking pot. You can make a choice right now to completely change your life. It's just really about right now making the next step. And I don't care. Look, I don't care what you decide success is in life because everybody has a different definition. Like one question I ask a lot of my guests, mostly all of them, is, what's your definition of success, and what are 3 things you do every single day to ensure that success? And what I've really found out is everybody's success is their happiness. So everybody's reaching for happiness. And that's whether that's to inspire the world and that's what makes you happy, or whether it is to sit around and drink all day and that's what makes you happy. Good. That's your success. But it's about making those choices that you need to make right now to really kind of garner that.
And that's awesome. So it's so true. You know what makes me happy?
Sitting with your pants off, covered in Vaseline from the waist
down.
During
a podcast. I only do it during podcasts. I don't know why.
It's the safest time because people only see you from here down.
Yeah. It's only weird if I start pleasuring myself during the podcast when I'm talking to someone live like I am now. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh God. Hand check. Yeah.
Oh man, this reference is just never gets old. So we know a lot about you, Justin. Well, we know you love to laugh and are funny. And I can't think of any better jokes. I woke up this morning at like 2 a.m. and I've been up all day, so I'm kind of faded into the wool at this point, brain-wise. Otherwise, these jokes would be funny, which now they're not. But thinking about them is kind of funny. But anything else you want to tell us about podcasting, your podcasts, your journey through life? Any other stuff you want to share there, bud?
No, I mean, look, if podcasting is something that you're interested in, and you feel like you have a message to tell the world in some way, shape, or form, I encourage you to reach out. I mean, I'll definitely hop on a call with you, whether you can afford me or not, and we'll have a chat. That sounded really pretentious. Whether you can afford me or not.
Can I call you a chat when I'm naked below the?
You have to be fully clothed. But no, reach out. You can go to beginpodcastingnow.com.
There's no FaceTiming, I guess, what you're saying.
I do. I Skype. I do Skype people because I like the video chat.
You want to make sure they have their pants on. I get it.
Exactly. But if they go to beginpodcastingnow.com and they fill out the form, I'll give them a free 20-minute consultation, and we can kind of really hash out some of their ideas and see if it makes sense, see if they should be podcasters. And we can kind of just go from there. So other than that, I mean, I think podcasting is a great platform for anybody to get into. Just whether you succeed or not is the next step.
Yeah, or whether you care about succeeding, I suppose. Sure. So for some people, I guess it's important. And I think there's a lot of Facebook groups that help people. But yeah, give us the website where people can go to get some help and advice on podcasting from you.
Yeah, it's beginpodcastingnow.com. And actually, if this is live, I'm starting a mastermind group. If they're interested, they can sign up at beginpodcastingnow.com/mastermind. It's open to 15 people only. And I also have a free webinar coming up for current podcasters, which is the 5 things I've done to grow my audience. And if they go to my Facebook page, which is Growth Now Movement, they can sign up there. So that's a free webinar that's coming up on March 13th.
That should be awesome. People are going to be like, finally, we can get away from Chris's podcast and go over to his. Don't have to listen to this shit anymore. Well, Justin, it's been wonderful to have you on. Everybody go check out. Is there any other websites you want to plug, Justin, before you roll?
growthnowmovement.com. They can check out the podcast there or on iTunes.
Cool. Sounds good. Are you on Google Play too as well?
I am. I'm on pretty much anything. I mean, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So wherever you listen to podcasts, just search Growth Now Movement.
There you go. Search for Justin. And Justin, thanks for being on the show. Thanks to my audience. We certainly appreciate you guys. Thanks for always tuning in, listening to the show, downloading it, all that good stuff. Be sure to share the show if you would to your friends, neighbors, relatives, dogs, cats, pool boys, mistresses. Let everybody in on it. Plus you play the show, it keeps the cockroaches happy. They will do less of whatever they do. And go to patreon.com/Chris Voss to support the show, YouTube/Chris Voss to subscribe to the show, hit that bell notification button, and go to Google Play and iTunes to download the show as well. Thanks to my audience for tuning in. Thanks for Justin for coming by, and we'll see you guys next time.